So a little bit about me. I'm Veronica Kirin. I am the founding member of Asterisk. I had a Web 2 tech exit in 2018, so Web 2 native, I guess, but now Web 3 native after the past few years. I'm also an anthropologist. I have a lot of thoughts about bringing people into Web 3 space because my area of study as an anthropologist is paradigm shifts, and Web 3 is certainly a paradigm shift. And I am the use case for Asterisk. That's why I'm passionate about it. I believe that you can either be really angry about something and let it fester inside of you, or you can be angry about something and use that energy in order to change the world. So here we are. I want to clarify, though, what we mean by non-reproductive health, because typically when I say, yes, I am the founder of Asterisk, we are working to change the way women's non-reproductive health is managed and researched. People say, oh, like periods? No. So there is a problem within medicine that women are viewed as different from men only where the bikini covers. It's actually called bikini medicine. And so there's a lot of organizations out there working in this space. In fact, 80% of femtech funding goes towards research for reproductive health. We are taking the view of the entire woman, and we want to change the problems within that space. To that end, women were excluded from clinical trials through the 1970s and 1980s because researchers were worried that a woman might be pregnant. Even though we could test for that, even though women tend to know their own bodies, even if a woman was on birth control, she's not allowed to be involved in clinical trials. It wasn't until 1993 in the United States that it was mandated that women be involved in sex-neutral clinical trials. So we have a problem, and we want to solve it. Ultimately, we want to see a world where women's non-reproductive health is impartially supported, and women are, in fact, involved in their health, which is why we are a DAO in the first place. Currently, as I said, we have some really systemic problems. There is still, to this day, many researchers who are excluding females from their trials, citing that the female cycle is too complex in order to achieve results. And this is true, which you will find actually that a lot of ADHD medications do not include women in clinical trials because the luteal phase actually kind of cancels out stimulant medications. So imagine trying to study a drug and then finding that 50% of the time for half of your trial participants, it doesn't work. That's not going to be a nice publishable number. So we still have some problems that we're working to achieve. I could go on and on and on. My favorite one is the 12% of animal trials that are for female-specific disorders are still using, only 12% use female animals for female-specific disorders. So we are researching something that is specific. I can see the women in the room going yeah, oh my God, I'm so sick of this. It's insane. So the other problems that we're facing is also that we're using male symptoms to diagnose women. So women are 50% more likely to die from a heart attack than a man because we're using the wrong set of symptoms in order to diagnose. Women are 25% more likely to be misdiagnosed from a stroke for the same reasons. And this is because for the past 500 years, women were treated as little men. And so we thought that except for reproductive health, we could just use whatever research was done on men. And it went for both. Clearly, it does not. I already covered bikini medicine and also the 1993 mandate, thank God. But there is still only a little regulation with regards to sex specificity within animal trials. The EU is starting to roll out some legislation within that. We're really hoping to see it because obviously it has an effect. This leads to major issues such as the Ambien fiasco. Does anyone know what I'm talking about when I say the Ambien fiasco? The public news probably won't call it the Ambien fiasco, it's my own terminology. So in the late 1990s, Ambien, a sleep medication, was studied and then put forward into the world, and it was only studied on men. And so 20 years later, after finally enough data and uproar happened, they changed the regulation for the dosage because it turns out that women need half the dose of men. And in fact, women were going psychotic because they were getting way too much of this medication into their bodies. Insane shit was going on. And so that is why we're called Asterisk, because Ambien dosage is X asterisk, except for female. That drives me crazy. Time to diagnosis is double for women as well for the same problem, and misdiagnosis is very, very likely. So that leaves a huge blue ocean for us, basically, because there are just so many problems. So we have 3 modules that we're going to be rolling out over the next several quarters, and then, of course, ad nauseum into the future as soon as our white paper is published. The first model is our most developed model. This is what I'm really excited about. So we're developing disease-specific data lakes for disorders that specifically bias towards women or are only female active. And so we believe that the medical system is broken. We don't want to get data from the existing medical system. We had an opportunity to partner with Data Lake, and we said no, because Data Lake is getting their data from existing medical files. And so the doctors are asking the wrong questions. We already know that. We want to build self-reported data lakes. This does 2 things. It gives us, first, the perspectives of women and their actual experiences, and it also breaks the global north paradigm. So right now, most of our research is done in the global north, which means that we have medicine for white women. We want medicine for all women. We really believe that this has to be, this cannot work if we have only one major demographic involved in the community. Self-reporting, thus you will receive points and eventually tokens within the DAO, so you get governance, of course, within the DAO, but it also eventually leads to the ability for women, for the first time, to be voting on their own healthcare. This is very exciting. The data will be then shared with researchers and femtech startups, because within the startup space, femtech startups are also starved for women's health data. So they need it too. We will be working on either a one-time or subscription model where researchers can come in, sort the data, definitely with the use of AI to help aggregate results even faster. And this makes it also cheaper for researchers to not only access data that they've never had access to before, but also then our members will have the opportunity to opt in if they want to be part of either a trial or a focus group or things like that, and they'll get extra points for that, thus extra tokens, et cetera, et cetera. Our next model is to attack the tech transfer problem. We're really trying to address the whole system here. The whole system is broken. What can we do about it? Again, sit and be angry, throw shit at the wall, or fix it. So tech transfer is the way that IP gets out of universities and other institutions. And right now, it's very, very cloistered. Most universities have a tech transfer office, but there might be like one person working there, and it takes a very long time for the information to make it out into the world, if ever. And there's also a valuation problem. Universities kind of guess at how much the IP is worth, and there's actually like no unified mechanism for valuing the IP. And so we believe that we can approach universities, mint IP NFTs, and then build a marketplace that allows this data to get finally out of the cloistered walls. As I spoke about on the panel with Barrett, when we have our data stuck behind the walls of the universities and other institutions, then it means that other universities and institutions are replicating that without realizing it, and we also are not noticing negative results. And so we think that this is a way to grease the wheels a bit, as well as then incentivize future research, right? So if the university suddenly noticed that non-reproductive women's health is lucrative for the first time, then they're going to want to fund more of it. So we actually accelerate research in a new way. Finally, we want to, of course, fund research. So this is, again, where we start to get into our members, so women around the world, across the whole world, not just the global north, actually participating in their own healthcare. So we are going to market with one specific disease state for our first data lake. In the future, we will roll out many more because there are many that are needed. So that will be the first voting mechanism. Eventually, then our members will be able to vote on what research we are ourselves doing. And then that research that we fund ourselves, thus the DAO owns that IP, then can then enter the marketplace, but then that becomes more lucrative for us because we own the entirety of the revenue as opposed to then passing that back on to a university. So it all kind of ties together very nicely, and we really like it. The market looks great. There is a sense that, hey, women's health could be lucrative and actually can benefit men significantly, because when we have more findings within a population, we learn about the entire population. So it's really nice to see these numbers. It's also a little bit frustrating though, because over and over we see that where there is a need, the need isn't met until it becomes lucrative for someone. So we're a little bit feisty and frustrated with that, or maybe it's just me, but we're glad to see it, and we're really here we're gonna take some of that cash. We're happy to do it. So yes, we were really, really hoping to publish the white paper today. We're not quite there yet. We have our tech stack in development, and that's really the last key thing. So we've been having some really great meetings with our nascent tech team. It's coming together, but we're just not ready to publish that. We are ready to have outside reviewers get involved. So if you're interested in putting your final 2 cents in before we actually put the rubber stamp on and getting out into the world, we'd love to hear from you. And then begin building. So we're talking to a couple biohackathons as well as other developers to actually bring this MVP to market. So you've got me involved, my pal Katie Kirsch. She is the former CMO of Sisu Global Health. They were a med tech physical product serving sub-Saharan Africa. Lena Show is taking over our comms team and running with it. And Aaron, who's also at MetaMask, or not MetaMask, I do that every time though, Muse Matrix. I literally, 2 M's, it's gonna collide in my brain. So Aaron is co-lead at Muse Matrix, and we're really lucky to have her also at Asterisk. So we're besties with Muse Matrix, even though I screw up the name every time. You wouldn't believe it, but Brat and I have been together many times this year already. So we are definitely looking for funding. We just did a Gitcoin round. You'll hear about that in just a second. But we're also exploring what an angel could look like just to get that MVP out the door. Definitely strategic partners. So, like who's interested in this and who wants to change the world, but they have another angle that they could contribute. And again, we're in Web3, community is key. So let's make that happen. And then again, white paper reviewers.
When you're collecting data, what kind of data are you looking for? Because I'm just going to give a quick example and then let you answer it. But I've noticed that whenever I take medication, I'm very sensitive, and I will get a lot of the side symptoms. And people will declare me crazy for actually having the side symptoms, even though they're listed on the thing as symptoms I could get from them. And there's nowhere I can actually report this. If I report it to my GP, that's all that will happen and nothing else. So are you also trying to create a system where this can be put?
Yes, absolutely. So we're looking at modalities, reactions, outcomes, symptoms, side effects, basically all of it, because there's also connections that happen within disorders that, we're talking about unique biology. So what happens within your cycle as well. We have to take the hormonal cycle into account. A man's hormonal cycle is basically on a 24-hour cycle, which is very, I'm a little bit jealous. But also, so we're riding a roller coaster every single month, and that's why, again, with ADHD medication, if we roll out an ADHD data lake, we will prove that it doesn't work in the luteal phase, or at least works less. So yes, symptomology and side effects are really, really important.
Sorry, quick follow-up on that. Will you have a form that you can fill out for that? That is really easy to use. I'll get you later. But
yeah, no, I love that. But that's a really good question, and this is something I'm really passionate about. I have an essay that is hopefully going to come out soon about why women are not totally involved in Web3. So we're talking about a paradigm shift and culture. So in my opinion, as an anthropologist involved as a founder of a Web3 organization, we have to make it stupid simple for people to be involved. We don't need to say it's Web3. Just like Brave browser is a Web3 browser, it doesn't say it's Web3 on the homepage. It just says your privacy is more protected here, so use us instead of Google Chrome. That's all people need to know. So we're looking at different DID options, as well as then trying to make a UX UI that feels very comfortable, very easy to use with drop-downs, checkboxes, fill in the blank, etc. Yeah. And then same for researchers as well. The back end has to be very, very, very simple. That's where AI helps us as well.